Hi, everybody. I'll wait a minute or two. All right, so I may go live tonight again to do a video response. I'm trying to get a hold of BBT as well. Um, Jackie, hi, how are you? Thanks for coming. So Merv went live, and she just had to insert her opinions without mentioning names, but it's so obvious about creators who have an interest in criminals. So all these true crime creators just have to focus on the victim, and I know Merv was going after um, Antimone because Antiamone, I always say her name wrong, was what was that girl that was murdered, and she's been corresponding with the murderer. Not as a pen pal, not as a potential girlfriend or wife, but to try to understand why criminals do what they do. And Antimone Lane does true crime, and she's been harassed big time by Merv because she got in touch and is in touch with a murderer. And I think that's fascinating. But Merv has to make it all about her and bring Sandy Ruzzick in it, because Sandy Ruzzick's, these are mothers of murder victims, and yes, we know that, and we're very sorry about that. But if we continue to ignore the murderers in the sense of looking into their brains and what makes them do, we have failed as a society as far as mental health. This is not the dark ages where we just throw people away and forget about them because we want it to stop. We want to recognize what makes people do horrible things, right? It's all about the brain. And I am so sick of her repeatedly victimizing the people she's already torn apart over and over and over again. She needs to just shut up. Shut up. All right? And it was Merv's live stream today. It's toward the end. How horrible people are. She named off everything that other people on YouTube do that she's done. That she's done. Hello, I think we need to probe into your brain and figure out what makes you tick. But, you know, how many people you have hurt without apology over and over, and you're still doing it. You threw Intimone under the bus again today. You threw her under the bus. Maybe you threw me under the bus because I spoke about Richard Kaczynski last night on a live stream. How he fascinates me. How his brain works as opposed to someone else, another murderer's brain works. And it is the most fascinating thing to look into because we learn so much about mental health. What are you going to do with these school shooters? Lock them up, Merv? These kids up? Forget about them? Obviously, something is wrong. You can't ignore. You can't ignore these issues that we're having in our country, in the world. But it's okay for scientists, what, to interview them. It's okay for the news media to land interviews. Have you never tuned into 2020 or 60 Minutes or one of these documentaries, 48 hours, and watched somebody interview a criminal? I'm going to share something with you. I'm not going to get into details. Back in the, I must have been 20 years old. I'm not even going to give the year. Hey, Black Eagle, what's up? What's up, girl? How's your summer going up there in Maine? Getting those lobsters? Um, Long before, because I think in the 90s, it started trending that victims were meeting with their perpetrators as part of forgiving them, as part of their healing process. Well, let me tell you something. Long before then, I was a victim of a violent crime, and I met my perpetrator in prison. I was subjected to a search. I was not treated like a victim. I was treated like any other person, um, because I wanted to confront the person who harmed me. Because I needed, in order, needed to understand why this criminal, because I did a situation where I felt I couldn't go forward. And I was 20, around 20 years old, if not maybe 19, but I think I was 20. I confronted my perpetrator. He denied it. Doesn't remember anything. Selective. Yeah, no. I don't remember that. I don't remember that. So I left and I said, well, at least I tried. 2 weeks later, I received something from him asking me to please come back and talk to him. And I did. And he apologized to me. He acknowledged what he did to me. And I forgave him. Right then and there. He validated my feelings. I asked him why he did what he did, and he was honest with me. He said he didn't know. He didn't know why. So, and I was fortunate enough to be in touch with his psychologist at that time, who was treating him, and they didn't. He released permission for his psychologist to speak with me, and it was a psychologist from McLean's Hospital, which is a very world-renowned, famous mental health hospital. And I was lucky enough, fortunate enough to speak with her to try to understand what made this person tick. So it is, in my opinion, it is needed for victims or people who are interested in why these things happen. Um, it's perfectly fine to meet with the perpetrator. Perfectly fine. So you can't just throw out words like creators are horrible people, Murph. They're villains. They're evil. That they give a criminal a second look or even talk to them. Because how can we evolve as people and do better without learning? Without learning what makes people tick. Because, like I said, if we don't acknowledge, and it's not to disrespect victims. It just is what it is. It happens, but we're only hurting ourselves to not inquire about these people and why they do the things they do, so we can recognize maybe red flags in the future, or we can understand, or maybe scientists can can find new medications. Um, you know, because I don't believe people are born evil. I don't believe that. So anyway, can you guys hear me? Okay. Yes, kindness, absolutely. Turn the volume up a little bit. Absolutely. So I think Mummy Ramblings feels like, because Sandra Rosick is in her corner, so to say, that whatever Sandra feels, Mummy Ramblings is going to vouch for that. And to me, she treats Sandra Rosick like a trophy. Like a trophy. Because I just had a deja vu. This is really weird. Like I talked about this before. If you cannot expand your mind beyond your own self, right? You have to. You have to get through that fear and look into the minds of other people and what makes them tick. Otherwise, like I said, we are failing as a society. We are failing our children, who will often develop mental health issues, and we can't predict their future. We can't say that our own child will turn evil or do immoral things to other people. So why can't we as a society do better and find out why people do what they do? Whether you're a professional or whether you're a true crimer, um, I don't think it matters. I mean, it matters in the sense that if I'm not a professional, I'm not a psychiatrist, but yet I confronted my perpetrator, and I had every right to confront him. You cannot take that away from victims, ever. And if a victim doesn't want to confront their perpetrator, then that's fine too. But I chose to move forward and evolve as a human being, to be better, to walk through that darkness that I couldn't get out of, and try to understand why these people do what they do. And just that meeting with him gave me enough to forgive him. And I was set free. I was set free from him. Anything one, everybody. So, you know what I mean? Like, I'm so sick of, like, certain people, leave Antimona alone. Or leave her alone. You did enough to her. You did enough to a lot of people. Leave her alone. Because you met, Antimone interviewed, is in touch with a murderer. So what does Mummy Ramblings do? She finds the victim's family, and all of a sudden, here she is, like she's got a trophy, you know, like she stands for the victims. Well, it's really unfortunate that for the victims, that you can't go any further than just them, that you can't inquire about, like I've said all along, why do they do what they do? Wouldn't that help victims, give them closure? If they had a reason, if someone said to me, we have no idea why, you were victimized. It was like being in a black hole, because I wanted to know why. Why me? Why, and I'm sure a lot of victims feel that way. And another thing, things don't happen for a reason. I don't believe that because that's Merv's, narrative, whether someone is killed. So what she's saying is, like with her dog, everything happens for a reason. Bullshit. 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 God does not enjoy and would never harm anybody. God does not bring airplanes down full of a couple of hundred people, including infants and babies, and have them perish. God does not cause car accidents where people are thrown out of their windshields and killed on impact. God does not put puppies or dogs in harm's way so they can be hurt. And to say, oh, God needed it, it was the dog's time. No, that's not how life works. Man does this. It's the choice. Adam and Eve, right? Eating the forbidden apple. Sin. Sin. Because God is a loving God. He would never. I hate when people say that. Everything happens for a reason. No, it's a coward's way out. Man does what he does from his choice, not from God directing him. I hate that. Everything happens for a reason. Tell the mother that loses her baby to cancer. God wanted that? Did God want that? No. Our environment is causing a lot of cancers, toxins. Our foods now are processed with hormones and preservatives. Um, the air we breathe. So to think that God had a reason to put an animal or a human being through that kind of torture, to me, is bullshit. Total bullshit. It's the classic, not everything happens for a reason. No, I don't believe it. You can believe what you want. If that's what makes you get through it, all the more power to you. But I'm not going to go through my life knowing that if an airplane crashes tonight or tomorrow into the Red Sea and 100, 200 people perish, you will never ever convince me that God did that. Hey, rabbit dog. All right, I gotta go get around this truck. I should be pulling over in like 7 minutes. I wish you could see that. I should have put my, what a dirty windshield. Oh my. Dirty, dirty, dirty. I can't, oh, FF's sake. Black Eagle. Do you see a StreamYard icon in the corner of your screen? I'm on my cell phone. I'm not on StreamYards. But if I go live tonight, there's a good book out there written by a rabbi from my state. In fact, I just came from the town he lives in. The book is called When Bad Things Happen to Good People. It's been around since I think the 70s, the 80s, early 80s. You've got to buy that book because it talks exactly what I'm saying. That bad things, when they happen to good people or anybody, it's not God's doing. But you can tell yourself that all you want. If that one makes you happy, go for it. But I cannot look at, say, like a car accident and see a body on the side of the highway and say, oh, God wanted that person. Come on. We don't blame man for his sins, for driving recklessly or driving under the influence. Come on. No, God did it. Sure. When bad things happen to good people, it is an excellent, excellent, excellent book. You will thank me for it. You will thank it's written by a rabbi. And he had a son that was born disabled. His son died, I think, when he was in his early 20s from his disability. And it was I forget exactly what it was, but he even questioned God. You know, why? Why us? Why my son? And he recognized that this had nothing to do with God's will. This is not God's will. Oh, Mary, it was sickening. It was sickening. I feel a little bit better today, but it took a long time for me to calm down. And she comes on live. She sounds fine now for someone who couldn't do this anymore. Um, she sounds fine now. Back to her old shit, throwing Antimone under the bus for interviewing, getting in touch with a murderer. Doing opposite. I think it's very important that we probe into the minds of people like this. So look at when we hear like of the school shootings or like a horrible, horrible murders like the Watts, what is the first thing or one of the second things we ask, right? Why? Why? What was the motive? Why? We may never get the why, right? But we will always ask ourselves that until we get the answer. Why? Why did he do what he did? And that bringing attention to Chris Watts in that way, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I think the creators who talk about that case in the sense of exploitation of those children, I don't agree with. But to get into the mind, the criminal mind, we can all learn from that. And it can be any one of our children that could do evil. Because how many times do you hear a person say, I've known him all my life. I went to school with him. I never would have guessed. Never would have guessed. There were no signs. There were no red flags. Well, usually there are red flags, but until we start to understand through education, especially through listening to the professionals talk about, what are the red flags? You know, we will not evolve as a society um, with mental health. We will just not. And we want to do better, right? Leave Antimone alone, Merv. Stop it. You did enough to her. You really hurt her. You really, really, really hurt her. He was a psychopath. Okay, so what makes a person a psychopath? Like, was he really a psychopath? I mean, there's a lot of speculation out there. But until we actually get into his brain and he gives us or gives a psychiatrist true answers, we can sit back here and just throw out, yeah, he was a psychopath, he was a narcissist, he was this, he was that. But how can we prevent this from happening again? What are the red flags? You know? So we just throw these people away and just, okay, they belong in jail, which they do, prison, they do. I agree with that. They should never see the light of day. I agree with that. But how many more Chris Watts? do we have to go through? I wonder if he told the actual truth about anything. Who knows? That case was crazy with some creators just speculating and who? Who? Yes, she has to attack somebody all the time. And she usually does it toward the end of her videos. Like she's got to get it in, get the jabs in, doesn't mention any names, but you know exactly who she's talking about. And you know that she's watching. And everything she says, it's what she's done to others. Everything she accuses other people of doing to her, she has done to others. It's like she's talking about herself. The hypocrisy is like, wow. But that's manipulation. That's gaslighting others. And then there are her subs. Oh, you're so right. You're so right. You're such a wonderful person. You're such a wonderful person. And she sends her bots out. I got a bot following me around on YouTube, one of her bots. And I proved it was a bot because the bot was created 2 months ago. I went back to her lives 2 months ago and I found that bot in her channel. And I can tell because bots don't get into detail. Bots don't get into like emojis and expressions and feelings and like keep your bots away from me, you crazy kook. Yes, Yvette, I do. It's in my About Me section, I think. Uh, Pink Lady Luck, the number 4 at gmail.com. Well, kindness, I agree, but I think we have to, all fear will do is stop us from doing better. We have a choice. We can either stay in fear, right? We can just tread in fear with anything in life. We can accept feeling that way all the time, knowing that it will only get worse, staying in it, or we can move through it. Because when you move through it, your fear will heighten at some point, but then once you move through it, it starts to diminish it. So you have a choice. You can stay in that perpetual fear mode of anxiety, you know, and procrastinate and just say, doc, I need meds for my anxiety. Or you can just face it head on because once you're through it and once you face it, you can start healing instead of living in that perpetual state of fear and anxiety constantly. Yeah, Mary, but think about it. Why kill your kids, your whole family? And to think he could get away with it. Like, that's not a normal brain. That's, like what makes him tick? Why do some murderers go into a house and kill the adults but leave the children? They spare the kids. So, what makes these people make the choices that they make? Yeah, who even does that? And I think we've come a long way in society because do you remember decades ago, the minute a child or an adult did something bad, we were very quick to blame the parents, and that was the end of it. You never heard from the parents, and that was the end of it. A bad seed. The way the parents, and granted, a lot of parenting has to do with how kids turn out, but sometimes there are situations where kids come from a very good family, and you could have 5 kids and there'll be one child raised the same exact way, and that one child turns to evil. That freaks me out because I used to think, well, then all the kids would be like that, right? So now we see, um, especially with these mass shootings with schools, we see the parents stepping forward right away or within the first couple of days, apologizing to the victims, to the public, um, not understanding why their child did what, or their adult child did what they did. Can we still blame them? Maybe, maybe a little bit of their upbringing, but at least they're coming forward and um, acknowledging, yes, my child did this. Um, hey, Dana, it's kind of rage quitting, like most killings, because the reality has been gamified. Very good comment notes. Dana, how are you? But Merb, please stop. Just please stop. Do better. Be better. I can't stand it when somebody doesn't own a single thing that they have done. That's what's bugging me. Take accountability. Own your part. Own your part for those you've hurt. There are people out there who have owned their part of hurting you. Why can't you do the same? Right, Melinda? And that's like the main thread of social media, right? That we see on YouTube. The fights that go on and on and on. There's no rainbow at the end. There's no end goal. There's nothing. It's all a matter of wanting to be right. That's it. You're wrong, I'm right. And sometimes I would love, like these big drama channels, the hard drama, just to do like a social experiment and say to their enemy, like, take Laura Keck, Perplex QT, whatever her name is. She's changed her channel. I don't know. I haven't watched her in so long. Okay? Because she's always like, everyone's talking about me, and na 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 na. What you should do is go live and say, you know what, Laura? You're right. You're right. You're absolutely right. Because that's all people are looking for on these platforms. They want to be right. So let's all tell Laura she's right. And maybe she'll stop. What is she going to say? What does someone say when you're in a fight with your partner, right? And it's going back. That's why a lot of men, yes, dear, yes, dear, yes, dear, yes, dear. Because they don't want the back and forth, the back and forth. Yes, dear, you're right. Yep, dear. You're a son of a bitch. I married a son of a bitch. Yep. Yes, dear, you're right, dear. What can they say? Because you've acknowledged them. You've given them that power. Okay? You want them to stop? Tell them they're right. Antimone, what's up? Well, yeah, Merb was trashing you again in her live. She didn't mention you by name, but she was talking about creators who go out and have a relationship, or I don't mean relationship like boyfriend, girlfriend, but are in contact with a murderer. So if you watch the beginning of my live, I also talk about when I confronted my perpetrator because I was a victim of a violent crime. And I did it before society recognized that victims were going to these prisons to meet the people that hurt them, or family members of murder victims were going to meet the person that killed their loved one. I did it long before it was even a thought because I felt trapped and I wanted forgiveness. I wanted to seek forgiveness for myself. Yeah, yeah. Yes, way, Antimon. She brought up Sandy Ruzick. She brought up the family of the guy that you correspond with. I think it's, and I've said it before, Antimon, I think it's amazing that you can get that close to a criminal mind and see why people do what they do so we can evolve as a society and do better moving forward. And it doesn't mean it's you're not being mindful or we're not being mindful. If I talk about Ted Kaczynski and tell you that he's my favorite serial killer, I'm not being rude or I'm not um, saying, his victims deserved it, although I don't know. You ever watch Dexter? Ted Kaczynski is a little bit different, but um, because someone, whether it's a psychiatrist, a YouTube creator, true crimer, Joe Blow down the street, if you can get into the mind of a criminal mind, because you want to know what makes them do or think what they think, it is not giving him like stardom. Okay, we cannot move forward as a society until we understand, recognize those red flags. And like I said earlier, maybe scientists can find new medications or find a part of the brain that has never been explored because the brain is the most, Jana, help me here. The brain is the most complicated organ of our body. We don't understand all parts of the brain. There are parts of the brain that we're not even aware of yet. Right, exactly, and Simone. No, I think maybe I invented the idea. Just saying, what 20-year-old goes to a maximum security prison, you know? Any true crime coverage outside Merv's cartoon projection on cases will displease her. Yeah, well, there's a common denominator because she goes after all true crimers, right? She's going to be the true crimer, just her. Just her. She wasn't true crime until Watts, like everyone, a lot of people did, right? Oh, the Watts. I could have done the Watts case. I probably could have gotten a lot of subscribers as well as everyone else, and that's fine. I wouldn't have exploited the victims like the children. That's a huge no-no to me. Um, and my super chats, I can tell you right now, would have never been on with exploiting those kids. But like I said, Merv got a hold of Sandy Ruzick, and now she's like, treats her like a trophy. Whatever Sandy feels, If Sandy doesn't want to give attention to Chris Watts, that's fine. But that shouldn't be the end all. No way. No way. That's just how she feels. But for me, I don't want to see a Watts case again. I want to understand the criminal mind. Her live stream today, unless she's done one since, it was today. And it's it's toward the end. Deanna, you think? You think lately? Lately? Your brain's topsy-turvy. Lately? It is today's, Antimone. Oh, she's live now? Of course she is. So it's the one before her live right now. She doesn't mention your name. She has a way of just, She's very transparent. Like, come on. Like, we know your game, your gamut, okay? And how horrible we are. The channels that do this, that hurt other people, really. So BBT's channel is a place, finally a place for your victims to come to and speak and have the right to their so-called due process that you did not afford them. You took that away from them. And you can tell with some of the people who've left her, like her good friends who left her, they don't even want to talk about it because they know they'll get the wrath, you know? No, not going to talk about it. Not going to answer questions. I have no animosity. You sure? But you left. You left. But you can't tell me you have animosity. You don't have any? Really? Then why'd you leave? Why did you leave? You don't have to talk about it, but don't sit there and say, I have nothing against her. Okay. No, no, no. Just hundreds and hundreds of people left her. Had nothing against her, but they just left. Was she boring? Hey, you mean girl. Long time. Lee Ted's mom. Hello. Of course, Merbs is friends with Bianca's family, and she's friends with the Rosecks. And the next big case that's coming along, she's gonna dig, 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 and become friends with all the victims. All the victims, because she wants to feel important. Anyone who brags, they call braggarts, 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 braggarts. Okay, you don't brag, especially about things like that. You know, well, I'm friends with Sandy Rudsick, and Sandy says this, and Sandy says that, and blah 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 blah. And Bianca's family, you know, said this and that, and this and that, and this and that, as if they're your trophy. Yeah, it is obnoxious. It's immature. It's immature. It's very much childlike. It's selfish. You shouldn't brag. Bragging about, you know, victims, the family's victims that you aligned, you know, purposely went out there to hurt Aunt Timon. Put your nose where it didn't belong. Let these channels, these creators, do what they want to do. And if you don't like it, don't condemn them. Don't make it a competition. This isn't the Amazing Race on YouTube. Guess what? There's no prize. There's no prize. You're not going to get the $100,000. You're not going to get the $1,000,000. What you're going to get, forget it. I won't even go there. Your mental health will suffer if you're a creator that just is in constant friction, creating friction with other creators because you think, because you want the acknowledgement and not share it with other people, not support other creators, not collaborate with other. Has she ever collaborated with another creator? True crime? Hey, soul sister, soul sister, soul sister. Because she knew Kim agreed with her. Well, yeah, so she got recognition. Recognition. How can you be a true crime creator and not talk about the criminal? How does that work? How does that work? I would love to do a commentary on that live stream she did toward the end, which is fair use. I can do it. She can't strike. She can try to strike me for it, but she can't win it. Um, Not in the way you do commentary. You play the video, you stop, you comment, blah blah blah. And when you're in a public forum as YouTube, you have the right to respond to other people. If you don't like it, then don't be a creator. Don't put your life out there. Don't put it out there. Rabbit, you can do it. You want to do it? Just let me know when you want to do it. And I'll put in my community post. I'll get people to come over. Because you're better at this and you're much more articulate than I am, especially when it comes to true crime. Because I'm not a true crimer. Yeah, Mary, I agree. Yeah. And people are always going to ask why. Why? So, Merb, I think people, victims especially, deserve an answer as to why. Because feel they will feel like they have chains around them. I think once we know the answers to people's actions, their motive, their intent, and understand um, I don't know, the physiology of it, why, what makes them tick, um, oh, we can't evolve. We can't. We can't do better. Closure, Gypsy, yes, exactly. Thank you, closure. So, and sometimes there's never closure, regardless, but there's always room for forgiveness, I think. And because that frees you, not the criminal. Um, but as far as Merv thinking that everything happens for a reason, that's to say, well, Chris Watts, God wanted this for Chris Watts to do, because you lost your dog. Nothing about your dog wasn't leashed up. So how does God play a role in this? How does he play a role in this? How do people who are murdered, planes that crash, and hundreds of people perish all at once, car accident, awful diseases, especially onto children? That is not God's doing, Merb. That is not God's doing. This idea of everything happens for a reason. There's Whether it's a good reason or a bad reason, I will always believe that it is what man chooses, whether it's good or bad. Um, but I will never look to God and say, why me? Why me, God? I used to when I was a lot younger. I used to. But again, please read that book, When Bad Things Happen to Good People, written by a rabbi. Um, and it will give you that insight as to why people think that. They just blame God. Why did you do this to me? Why did you take my child? Why did you give my child cancer? Why did my family member why were they killed? Why were they murdered? There must, everything happens for a reason, right, God? I trust in you. God wanted an angel now. He needed an angel. I've heard it all. No, no. God is loving. God does not hurt. And I think we need to take the blinders off and look at man and look at people. And it's typical because Merv does not take accountability nor responsibility for her actions, right? Right? So she doesn't even recognize her own actions that hurt people, or maybe she does and she doesn't care. So it's easier just to blame someone else, Even God. God didn't take your puppy. God didn't do that. Man did that. Your actions did that. Not leashing the puppy up. And accidents do happen out of negligence. Oftentimes it's unintentional and it's horrible. But we can't sit there and say, well, God just, gave them to us for just a short time for a reason. And yet you can't name the reason. She's the kind of religious person that hopes there's such a thing as hell. That's not up to Merv who goes to hell or if there's a hell or not. A vengeance is mine, said the Lord, right? Said God, a vengeance is mine. I will seek revenge, not you. So that's karma. When you talk about it like in wanting people to go to hell, that's revenge. That's not your job or your say if you're a religious person, because you're taking the power, the almighty power, away from God, right? He is the most powerful. He is the greatest, right? You're taking that away from a God. And it says in the Bible, you cannot seek karma, revenge, and believe in God together. You can't. You can't. You might as well. That's like worshiping a false prophet. Yeah, kindness. So on BBT's yesterday, I asked that question. What exactly was Jimmy referring to when he mentioned the ASPCA? And I think if I remember correctly, something about, I don't know, him wanting to give the dogs back, or he never wanted the dogs, or uh, look at it. Just saying that, just by saying that, it's evident you don't want the dogs. Then relinquish them. Find them a forever home. Yes, Mary, from what I've heard, it's a very long driveway. You're right, Rabbit. Rabbit, do you want to go live today or you want to set it up for tomorrow? I'm sure it's late where you are. Right, Aunt Simone? She's back in the saddle. That was quick. I don't know about you guys, but when I lost my dog, I was a wreck for days, for a couple of weeks. I couldn't even go to work. Couldn't even go to work. When you have that unconditional love from a pet, oh my God. And I didn't think, we had our dog for 12 years. I really didn't think that I was going to get that upset. In fact, when my kids came, my intention was to be very strong for them, to hold it together for them. And as our dog was dying in my arms, no, my daughter was holding the dog at the time. I lost it. I lost it. I was hyperventilating, trying not to cry, like trying to hold it in. And then my kids ended up comforting me. It was, I couldn't function. I couldn't eat. I kept crying. I told everybody, don't even ask me, how are you? Don't even ask me that because I'm not good. Don't ask me. Even the vet was calling me. Are you okay? Are you okay? I took it so hard that to this day I can't get it. We almost got another puppy. It didn't fall through because we weren't quick enough when the litter came to claim a puppy. But it's been 3 years, and I'm just starting to feel like, okay, maybe I can do this again. She had the dog in the boat a little while ago, and Luke freaked out that the dog was going to jump out the boat. He started yelling, "Give him to me, Mom, give." him to me. He's dramatic. Pink, I lost 3 cats within a year, 2 of them a month apart. I cried for a very long time. Yeah, yeah. My neighbor just lost her cat this morning. Cat was cat was old, severely anemic, and they went to the vets this morning. She texted me, and she's beside herself. So I actually went out today. Let me show it to you. I bought. Let me find it first. Oh, where did the other piece go? Shoot. Um, Maybe not. Oh, here it is. Okay, I look like shit. Hold on. Okay. You see this? Isn't that cute? So you put a picture of your animal here, and there's like a little. And this, I think this opens. I'm not sure if that opens. I think it. No, it doesn't. Isn't that cute? What does it say? I'm trying to read it backwards. You left paw prints on my heart. Yeah. So I got that at the paper store. It used to be the Hallmark store. I don't know if it's just a New England thing. The paper stores, um, but it's called Paw Prints on My Heart. I don't know if you can find it online. With tax, it's about. It was a little expensive. It was $30 with tax. I'm trying to. Let me see if I can. It's just called Paw Prints on My Heart. It's a picture frame with a hanging heart next to it. So I'm gonna leave it at her door tomorrow, and I got her. They got lots of pet sympathy cards, so I'm gonna give her that too. And it says a cat makes life so much sweeter, and you open it up. A familiar friend, a treasured soul, a beloved family member. So sorry you had to say goodbye. Oh, sweet. Me too, Mary. I still have a memorial set up for my dog in the living room. I have her urn. I got her favorite toy. I have her paw prints, which I wasn't expecting. I was doing fine, right? Once I got her ashes back, and it was so comforting to me that I felt like she was back with us. And I started to heal. I started to get through it. And then about a week later, I get something in the mail and I open it up and it was her paw prints. I never requested them. And um, I often wonder if the vet requested that for me, thinking that it would help. But I have her paw prints. And they sent a poem, a Rainbow Bridge poem. Um, what else? Oh, they sent a container of wildflower seeds to plant in memory of my dog. So it was very, very sweet. Yeah, Mary, I'd love to see it. And tomorrow, and I have to continue to work on a new video I'm going to upload. Good for you. Good for you. I'm glad you're going to start working on your channel again. You know, don't let these people shut you up. Don't. What did Rabbit say? I missed it again. Let me know what time suits guys, then I can go live. Tonight, you can go live anytime. I'm pretty close to my house, and it's up to you. Should we do a panel on her live? And Simone Lane. Yeah, anytime you want, Rabbit. Just let us know what's good for you. Yeah, right? I'm happy for Aunt Simone. I think the time is right to start, and you know when it's right. We all take breaks, and yeah, I think the time is right for Aunt Simone to, you know, claim back her power. Oh, kindness, yeah. I haven't, even when I go to wakes of family members or, friends that I've lost that I've grown up with, or I've never cried that hard as I did when I lost my pet because it's the unconditional love. And then I kept coming home after she passed away. I was so used to her greeting me at the door. I was nothing but a, no, I'm sure I was more to my pet, but I always said I was my pet's food bank. Like she would greet me at the door, and it's like, yeah, I know what you want. You want food, But no, she loved us. But she loved food too. But for the longest time, I would come home from work and just not imagine it. I really thought she was there for a second. Like I forgot that she passed away. I mean, 12 years, 13 years of just being accustomed to, or sometimes you think you hear them, their little paws going across the hardwood floor. No, Melinda. Oh my God, no. I was hyperventilating. I know people in the waiting room heard me. I think people heard me outside of the vet clinic. I was trying to hold it in. Like I can't let people hear me cry. I can't let my kids hear me cry. And it was just so overwhelming that I just let it out. I didn't wail. I cried. And then the lady comes in with the bill, didn't realize what was going on. And I remember she came in, my head was down on my arms, puts a piece of paper in front of me. And one of my kids says, "This is not the time." She was very apologetic. She was, though. And just like looking at it, and it's a bill, the vet bill. I was like, really? Like, can't you wait till I check out? But she was very apologetic. She didn't realize, even though she could hear me crying, you know. So, yeah, I agree. Yeah, cats are much more self-sufficient. TC, I used to joke that I was his servant. Well, yeah, if you have a cat, you are, because that's how cats are. Dogs, they depend on us a lot. All right. So, Rabbit, let me know. I'm gonna leave soon. If you're gonna go live tonight and at what time, or we can go live tomorrow, whatever works for you. And I'll put up my community page. A 22-year-old cat? Oh my goodness. Is that a long time? Yeah, of course you do miss her. 22 years. Yeah, it's been 3 years. We lost our dog. Yeah, that is a long time. Yeah. What about the people that go to a taxidermist to get their animals stuffed? What are your thoughts on that? All right, live 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, U.S. time. All right, that's in 40 minutes. I'll put it on my community page, Rabbit. Page. Yeah, some people have their pets stuffed. I don't know what to think about that. I suppose if that what's, I mean, I understand loss of a pet is so hard. Like cremating my pet and bringing her ashes home helped me. Maybe for someone else, it helps them. That they really, they have to have their pet there visually. But that would freak me out. I've never met anyone that's had a stuffed real pet. What? Yeah, watch next week. I meet someone with a stuffed pet. Yeah, cremation. And also too, um, there are caskets available for pets. They're sealed tight, like you won't get smell from them. After you bury them, moisture does not get in. So if you look up on Google animal caskets, there's a whole array of them, and they're pretty affordable, I think. But um, so if you ever, know somebody who is concerned about that, they might freak out. They don't, when you think about your pet and just bugs and, if you want to preserve your pet knowing they're in the ground and they're not going to get wet, animals won't dig them up. There are caskets. People probably coming in now like, Pink, what are you talking about? You went to school with a girl who had her Pekingese stuffed. Was she Asian by any chance? I just have a feeling that I think because if you look at like TikTok videos and stuff, like they love their animals, like especially cats. Like I can see like them doing that. Like there's something, and they're beautiful. They have beautiful cats, and they groom them, and they you've had to see them on TikTok. Um, but I can see like maybe they would do that too. Like they have their own beds. We still have our dog's water bowl collar and his stuffed chew toy. Oh, yeah, we have our dog's favorite toy. It's a squeaky toy. Melinda, no. Pink, that was so random. Why do you think Asian people stuff their pets? I don't know. I just from those TikTok. I mean, I don't know. I just think they would. All right, retract all of that. You want to hear something really creepy? Do you guys remember years ago on YouTube there was a video of a wake of a guy? They propped him to the standing up position at his own wake. He wasn't in a casket. Look it up. He had a cap on and sunglasses. Yeah, Kathy, cultural thing. I know parts of Asia consume dogs and cats, but we won't get into that. Ugh. But yeah, there was a guy. Look it up on YouTube. It's real. And then there was a state, I forget, I think it was down south. They had drive-through wakes. This was before COVID for people who couldn't get in, whether they were handicapped or I don't know. They had a drive-through wake where you would just pull your car up to the drive-through and see your loved one through the glass and pay your respects and drive on through. Sounds like the weekend at Bernie's, right, Gypsy? If you don't believe me, look it up. There was a country song about that, prop me up by the jukebox when I die. Oh my God. And I think this guy standing up had like his hands in his pockets. He looked a little like gangstery, like I don't know. It was really weird. But in the old days, in the Victorian era, they actually did prop up the deceased in a family photo with the alive relatives and would take a picture. And it was only the rich that could afford these pictures. But it's interesting that they would, for their eyes, they were like like prosthetics, prosthetics, like a contact lens, but it was hard. And they would put it in the eyes so the eye would open and it would have their eyeball like painted on it. And they would prop in some of the pictures you can actually see the stand behind their legs. Awesome, Rabbit. Okay, we'll be there. So if you look up the Victorian era pictures of dead people, they're either in a bed or they're sitting in a chair, and their family members who are alive are surrounding their deceased loved one. It's wild. Laid out in the parlor. Yes, in fact, my family, I've heard stories. I want to say maybe beyond my grandmother, but my great grandparents. This was probably late 1800s, and I'm sure even early 1900s. People were waked in their living rooms. And I don't know if that was cultural or if it was more affordable or maybe there weren't funeral homes. I don't know. But I want to say that I don't know if it was my mom or talked about staying in the house overnight knowing that there was a casket in the living room. But yeah, that was something that was done often. But that's a good thing to look up. Why did people have wakes in their living rooms? And why don't people do it now? And can we do that? Born, very true. Born at home, waked at home. Yeah, you think cultural. Yeah, it is interesting. Well, one of my lives we'll talk about it. We'll get into creepy stuff. I love creepy stuff. Okay, so 9 o'clock in 30 minutes, Rabid Dog. Rabid Dog, are you still here? Can you drop your link or someone drop his link? Look up that song if you get a chance. I will, Melinda. I definitely will. I wonder if they got embalmed. I don't know. That's a good question. Hey, Deborah Ann, good to see you. How are you? It's good to see everyone. Um, so yeah, Rabbit Live. We're gonna go over Merv's live stream, especially toward the end of it today. How she threw Antimone under the bus again. Obviously, we knew it was her, or she could have thrown me under the bus for talking about Richard Kaczynski. But again, um, we're failing as a society if we don't get into criminal minds. Yes, gotten bombed. Hey, Jules, I think it was because it takes the soul 3 days to leave the body. The family stood watch with the body until the soul ascends to heaven. That's what my grandma told me. Wow. I'm definitely, I definitely want to do a live stream and talk about that kind of stuff. How, culture has changed over the years, at least in our country, because these were wakes that in our country that were done, that my ancestors, talked about, my grandmother or my great grandmother. Thanks, Mary. Okay, Mary dropped the link to Rabbit Dog. He is going to go live at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's in 30 minutes. We're going to talk about the criminal mind as far as, you know, why would we not want to understand the criminal mind? And also, Merb, the hypocrisy and her throwing people under the bus again and again and again, um, as if she hasn't done enough. And she needs to stop. Of course, we can't make her stop, but I think if we can understand better why people do what they do, whether they're criminals or not, we'll all be better for it. Carrie the Mortician. Oh, she's a YouTuber, right? Yeah, I'll have to check her out. I had a friend growing up whose family owned a funeral home. They lived there. And and I remember going over to their house after school. I was young, maybe 12. And my friend who lived there said, "You want to go on a slide?" And I'm like, "Sure." But the slide was inside the house. And she told me it was a slide that they slid the bodies down to get to the basement. But I never figured out how they got them back up. Maybe there was a pulley or something. I was terrified. And I remember leaving our house and standing in the driveway, terrified. And they called it the last slide. So her dad came out. He was so nice. Aren't all funeral home guys nice? So he said to me, I told him I was scared because this house is a funeral home and, I didn't want to be there anymore. It was the first time going over to her house. And he said to me, I'll never forget it. He said, I want you to remember this. The dead can't hurt you. Only the alive can hurt you. And I was like, that was it. That's all it took. It clicked. It clicked. And I went back in the house, but I did not go down the last slide. That I did not do. Right, you see, and 100 years ago isn't that long ago. When you look at time, as a whole, and how things have changed so drastically. And so when we still come across people who practice their cultures that are 100 years old or more that we know of, and it's fascinating. It's fascinating. And I miss that too about a lot of families. Like growing up, every Sunday was a day to get together with your extended family, your grandma, your grandpa. So much has changed. There were blue laws, no blue laws. So no stores were open on Sundays. We had time and you spent it with family. And you'll see that when I was living in Hawaii, that Sundays is a huge family day there. That people still, get together and they go to the beach or the park with their extended family members. And I miss that. And then the blue laws came and stores were open and nobody's around anymore. Everyone's busy. So it took away from the nuclear family. Todd, what's up? Pink doesn't read my comments to her anymore. I'm just an old OG bystander, I guess. I tend to look up when I talk. I'm so sorry. How are you, Todd? It's so good to see you. And thank you for always being here for me. Always. There's your comment. Now I see the other comments. Pink, may I say that when you personally speak from your heart, that you have such a beautiful quality wisdom within yourself. This is something I've always respected about you. It's genuine, not fake. Thank you so much, Todd. I love you, Todd. Okay, I gotta go. 9 o'clock, Rabid Dog. Someone dropped the link earlier, or just look it up, Rabid Dog. Okay, and let's have some fun. Some intellectual speaking. You're welcome, Todd. I hope everything's well with you. Good night, everyone. Good night, we. Thank you, everyone. If I missed anyone's comments, I'm sorry. I will replay it and look at everyone's comments. I always do that. Be there or be square. That's right. That's right. All right, everyone. See you soon. Meet me over at Todd's. Meet me over at Rabbit Dogs. All right. All right. Good night, everyone.